Hello, I'm Wilde, trannie tragic from Barnet, North London. Now a couple of days ago I made a video all about me. I was wearing a t-shirt similar to this, different colour, different pattern, but roughly the same size, and it exposed my stomach. And I was embarrassed. I thought, oh no, no one wants to see a transvestite with a tummy. And so I deleted the video. And then I thought, you know what? This is me. This is who I am. I have a bit of a tummy. Just a bit. A lifetime of alcohol, secret sugar, chocolate biscuits, potato chips, and not enough sexual exercise. I even have man boobs, which I quite like, but you're not allowed to see them in case you get turned on. Ooh, heaven forbid. And so here's my decision. I've reinstated my video, stomach and all. We'd all love to be like Taylor Swift, but that ain't gonna happen. Most of us are just ordinary, average sort of fellas who enjoy dressing up as sissy girls. It gives us a buzz, it gives us pleasure. We enjoy it, and it does nobody any harm. So my videos will be for the ordinary, everyday sort of transvestites who just love dressing up as pretty little girls. We do the best we can. Let's face it, we're never gonna be like Nicole Kidman or Taylor Swift or any of these pretty little Asian trannies, you know. We can't be like that. We'd love to be, but we can't. So we just enjoy the best of life as we can possibly find it to be. And by the way, my videos will also be for those men who find transvestites attractive, and even for a few women who find us attractive and interesting. There are a few. I've met a few. I'm looking forward to meeting a few more. So that's what it's all about. What follows is my original video that I almost deleted. I'm 77, almost 78. Here's to another 5 years, at least, of drinking, of sexing, of misbehaving, and thoroughly enjoying every second of being a kinky transvestite. I'm back. I did warn you that I'd be back. As you can see, I enjoy painting my fingernails. Today they happen to be bright red or pinky bright red. Why? Because it makes me happy. But here's the problem. I take my doggies for a walk every day, actually 3 times a day. And and I keep the nail varnish on, and but I'm a bit embarrassed about it. Why should I be embarrassed about it? Because I am. I tend to like hold the leads like this, and the other hand I put in my pocket so that people can't see that I'm a poofter. Why is this? Women can go about in nails any colour they like, any length they like. No one takes a second's notice. But if a guy tries it, he's a goner. He's considered a weirdo. Well, perhaps I'm a weirdo. By the way, have you noticed my doggy has changed colour and changed shape? Weird that, eh? By the way, tonight I'm just wearing, I don't know if you can see these little girly shorts with frills. Nothing flash. Why do I wear them? A 77, almost 78-year-old man. Why? Once again, because it makes me happy. Does no one any harm whatsoever. Why the fuck shouldn't I wear whatever I like? Okay, now this whole thing, it's a double-edged sword, because although women are free to wear whatever they like, little tank tops, bikini, they can walk about in public semi-nude, you know, lucky them. But at the same time, there's all sorts of restrictions put on women that men don't have to suffer. For example, if we have lots of sex, we're called a stud, a hero. If a woman has lots of sex, she's called a slut, a tramp, a trollop. This is cruel. This is so unfair. And it's stupid. It's not only unfair, it's stupid. Because heterosexual men and bisexual men, we spend our lives trying to find sexual women. So when we find them, why don't we bow down and treat them like princesses? Instead of which, we call them insulting names, which obviously is going to put them off multiple sex. This is mad. The word slut, I mean, I quite enjoy it when it's aimed at me, but what I've done, I've used it as a, what do they call it, an acronym, initials, you know, and so to me, slut stands for sexually liberated, uninhibited treasure. Probably looks backwards to you. Sexually liberated, uninhibited treasure. To me, that's what the word slut means. Now, I can't remember exactly what I told you last time. I remember I did tell you that I went to an all-boys school, and how we used to, you know, some of us, or most of us in fact, used to mess around a little bit in the toilets because we had no access to girls. Girls were off limits. I was never a masculine sort of a boy at school. I hope this isn't going to bore you to death. I'm going to talk about me. I was lucky. I wasn't actually bullied at school, but I remember, look, I don't know if I can demonstrate this sitting down here, and I don't want to have to muck around with the focus and all the rest of it. When I was a young boy, I had a habit of sort of standing in a sort of feminine fashion with one hand on my hip. It was just natural, it just came to me naturally. I wasn't putting it on or anything like that. And it caused me embarrassment because other boys would notice and they'd walk around going, you know, and taking the piss out of me. So I fought against it. Every time I went to put my hand on my hip, I'd fight it away because it was so important in the masculine world to be masculine. You had to be. And so I fought against that natural instinct. And I remember back in those days, I mean, everybody's talking these days about body image. And, you know, girls are overweight and they go berserk to try and get themselves skin. I can tell you something about that, but that'll be for another occasion. A girl I met who was absolutely perfect, absolutely beautiful, but she was close to suicide because she couldn't lose enough weight. Absolute madness, but I'm not having a go at her. the whole situation is madness. I remember when I was a young teenager growing up, back in those days, the big thing was Charles Atlas. Charles Atlas was a bodybuilder back in the 1950s, giving my age away here, aren't I? And the whole thing was, you know, he had a body. Today we'd sort of compare it to Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, he had that sort of a body. And the advertisements in all the comics and the magazine showed this tough guy with massive shoulders and huge muscles kicking sand in a young guy's face and walking off with his girlfriend. That was the thing in those days. And here was me, believe it or not, you wouldn't believe it today, but I was a skinny youth, narrow-shouldered. You know, you can still see that for a man. I'm quite narrow in the shoulder. Quite not actually a very big dick. You know, not sort of chronically small, but not as big as some of the other boys. And with this feminine sort of manner about me, I felt like a nobody. I felt totally humiliated. So I understand today how boys and girls, you know, suffer from body image problems. I get it. I went through all that. So after 6 years or thereabouts in the Merchant Navy as a deck boy, doing everything I could to toughen myself up and make myself look like a tough guy, getting into scraps and fights and all sorts of problems, I thought I had overcome my femininity. And one day I remember, where was this, Earl's Court somewhere, London. I attended a party with a bunch of friends, and this record came on. I think it was by a group called the Cascades, something about the rhythm of the, remember the rhythm of the falling rain, something like that. And I said, oh, I love this song. And someone else, another guy standing there, said, oh, he loves this song. You know, and I thought, oh, fuck me dead. I've spent all these years trying to become masculine, and people can still detect this feminine side to my nature. I was so depressed. Actually, it reminded me, just recently I saw a short video of Nicole Kidman in a car with her husband. I've forgotten his name now, you know the bloke I mean, the musician. And music comes on, a song comes on in their car radio, and she goes, oh, I love this song. And I'm thinking, yes, that was me many, many years ago. But you're lucky enough to be a woman, and no one's going to take the piss out of you for saying it in such a manner, in such a feminine manner, because you're female. No one's going to take the piss out of you. But I know that it's so stupid, but it brought me back. You understand what I mean? I saw this video, and she's such a beautiful, lovely person. Nicole Kidman, what's his name now? I can see his face. Oh, God, you know, I'll put it up there. I'll write it. You know the bloke I mean. He's a brilliant guitarist and musician. And I thought, yeah, you know, takes me back. And I just felt so low and so down that after all those years working as a tough guy in the Merchant Navy, I was still recognised as a weak, pathetic little feminine sissy. Nowadays, couldn't give a monkey's fuck, but back in those days it was very important. Back in the, what was it, late 1970s, early 1980s, I published a sex magazine. This was when I was living in New Zealand. I think I called it Key Contacts, something like that. And I got into all sorts of trouble over it. This is a long story, which I'll go into on another occasion. I was hauled before the Catholic, what did they call themselves? The Indecent Publications Tribunal. The Catholics had all the power. The judge, he was a retired judge, but he was the chairman. He was a Catholic, and there were 6 members of the tribunal, and they were all 6 of them Catholics. and somehow I had to defend myself against this Catholic Inquisition, because my Key Contacts magazine was sexual. Oh no, not sexual. Oh goodness, heaven forbid, not sexual. Anyway, it's a long story. I'll tell you, this is too long to mention this time. I'll tell you another time. Anyway, as a result of publishing this magazine, I met all kinds of sexual people. You might think, oh, New Zealand, tiny little country down the bottom here somewhere. You've no idea how much kinky sex goes on in New Zealand. Actually, first of all, she contacted me. I was living in Auckland. She lived in Wellington, which is the other end of the North Island. And she wrote to me. This will be once again another edition. Stay tuned. This is coming up in the near future. And as it happened, once the magazine was published, I used to drive all around the North Island of New Zealand. I used to do my own distribution, 10 hit-ish magazines here, 15 there, 20 there. And that would take me a whole week going around the whole country, maybe longer. So I visited her in Wellington. Quite an ordinary sort of looking woman, nothing flash, but quite an interesting woman. And we went out for a few drinks and we went back to her place. And obviously sex was on the agenda. Yes, it was. And anyway, I was about to make my first move and she said, on one condition. And I thought, oh, here it comes, she's going to ask for money. But no, she said, I need you to dress up as a little schoolgirl. What? You've got to be joking. And as I was thinking about it, she went to a drawer, she pulled out a little bra, a little suspender belt, a pair of stockings. I can't remember whether she had a wig or not, I don't think she did. But all this beautiful, gorgeous lingerie. And I don't know, it's difficult trying to describe the emotions I was going through. But I agreed to put on this gear. She helped me, did the bra up and all the rest of it, helped me on with the suspender belt. And I tell you what, you might think this is really, really weird, but I was so excited, I was trembling. I remember I was actually trembling with excitement. And as far as I remember, we had sex and it was enjoyable. And the next day, I went out with her to various shops and I bought, because I had a bit of money back in those days, and I bought bras and panties and suspender belts and stockings, even a pair of shoes. I don't think I bought a wig, that came later. But that was really the start. Although I'd been interested in girly undies since my early teens, this was actually the start of my cross-dressing. I think I must have been about 30, 35, something like that. That's when the whole thing got underway. Now, you've got to remember, this was before the internet and all that sort of stuff. This was back in the days when if you wanted to meet other people, you had to advertise in your local newspaper. And you had to do it in a very discreet manner. You weren't allowed to say, horny transvestite looking for cocks to suck or anything like that. You had to be very, very careful what you said. But fortunately, as I say, I ran my own magazine and I got to know a few other cross-dressers. And after a while, I started to realize, you know what? I've spent my whole life to date trying to be macho and masculine, and the truth is, I don't need to be. I can just be myself. This was a huge revelation to me, that I could just be me. Now, before you go, I've got to tell you a joke. This was a joke I heard on the Graham Norton show a few days ago. It was told by Chris Rock. Now, I don't know whether you know this, but Chris Rock is a huge fan of Eddie Murphy. In fact, I seem to remember in one documentary I saw, he confessed or admitted, whatever you want to use, that he copied Eddie Murphy to begin with. Anyway, here's the story. Eddie Murphy is exiting a theatre somewhere where he's just put on a huge show. And apparently Eddie Murphy is surrounded by an entourage. Do you say it entourage or entourage? I'm not sure. My English and French is not too crash hot, but you know what I mean. Bodyguards, you know, managers, you know, hairdressers, all sorts of hangers-on. And a young woman rushes up to Eddie Murphy, breaks through the barricades and tries to grab a hold of him and says, "Eddie, Eddie, Eddie, I want to kiss you. You're dynamite. You're so wonderful. I want to kiss you. Besides which, I've always wanted to kiss a black man." And Eddie Murphy, that's my dog, Eddie looks at her and says, "Okay, fair enough. So you've always wanted to kiss a black man. Well, that's okay. But you can't start at the top. First, you've got to kiss some of these broke niggers."